how to defend against a 2-punch attack. So basically, most attackers don't take a step forward and throw punches. We use that type of training platform so you can learn how to obviously use your hand deflections, whatnot, body movement, distance, balance, time, the whole gamut. There's a lot of stuff. I can make an hour-long video just explaining that in itself. So a lot of people like to throw this punch to where, whether it's a jab and then a right cross or an uppercut or a hook punch or even the haymaker, they do it from this particular stance, is what we call a reverse stance. Okay? Now, if your right hand is your primary hand, that you're right-handed versus left-handed, you're always going to be in this position. If you look at boxers, guys that are southpaws, meaning their power hand is their left hand, their right foot is forward with their right hand creating the jab to set them up with a right cross, uppercut, hook punch, whatever. If you're right-handed in this position, your left foot would be forward, your left hand would be forward, your guard would be up, and you'd be throwing jabs with your left hand or straight punches, however you want to look at it, with a right cross, right hook, right uppercut, right elbow, any of those combinations, any of those sort of type of striking methods. From here, we're going to do this to the point where somebody throws a combo where it's this jab, right cross type of scenario. Again, refer back to the basic fundamental skills of combative concepts so you can see the hand deflections and the way how they're done. We're going to be doing a 2-hand deflection off of one hand, meaning I'm going to do 2 deflections using one hand to do this. So I'm going to use what we call the ukanagashi tsuriyage movement. Then I'm going to enter in, crank on his neck, get a jaw lock, and take him down to the ground. So Bob's in this reverse stance, okay? He throws left jab, then right cross. So left jab, boom. Followed up with right cross. Okay, so it's a 1-2 combination. And it's not 1, 2. In the beginning stages of this, absolutely. Doesn't need to be that slow, but it can be 1, 2. You want to follow up consistent speed. You don't want to go 1, 2, and you definitely don't want to go right now at this point where it's 1, 2. You don't want to move that quick. You want to build up your skills to where you can negotiate that type of attack, handle it, deal with it appropriately, and then follow through the necessary steps to incapacitate the attacker. So we're going to show it to you in a slow pace right now. So it's a 1, 2. So here comes the ukanagashi and then the tsuriyage movement. So one more time. So do 1, then 2. So ukanagashi here. First one, ukanagashi, and then as that punch comes in, this hand turns this way, and that punch comes through. Even though he retracts it, you enter in before he retracts it. Okay? Common mistakes that I see with this is that people do this, 1, 2, which opens you up for a third punch to the face, kick to the stomach, knee strike, whatever, eye gouge. It opens you up for the attacker to get more strikes in on you. So the idea isn't to do 1, 2. Most people will learn to do it that way, which is wrong under duress. That's why I stress that you run this drill and you run the hand deflection drill smoothly, controlled, and slow. So you can get the proper method of this. The proper method is 1 and then allowing this to absorb. Okay, so once you get that first one here, remember, it's not like a full ukanagashi where you're going to turn. This motion happens here, and then your body allows the second one by turning your hips and turning your hand out. So once I'm here and that punch happens, I extend this up because that's going to follow through and absorb. Then I'm going to move into this point to get to the jaw to where I can crank the head and take him down to the ground. So 1, 2. So 1, 2, you move right into this position. Now if he punches and pulls back quickly, 1, 2, you're moving in. Crank on the head, get the jaw turned, interlock your hand, crank on his jaw, squeezes into your body, take him down to the ground. You can crank on his head even more, strike to the groin if you have to. We tend to do this part of the technique where you start pushing on the head, which kind of compresses the spine, it pushes his chin to his chest, and then he's off balance at that point. If he goes to raise up to grab my arm, however he wants to do this, real simply, you can grab this arm and drag him over at this point. Apply your knee to his elbow, hyperextend or break or dislocate his elbow however you want. At this point, depending on how the situation unfolds, if it's extremely violent and you're in a fight for your life, I've talked about stomping to the head to finish techniques off. I don't know how many times I've showed that, demonstrated, and talked about it. You need to be mindful of this. If you get to a point where you have to stomp on somebody's back of their head to keep them down, to incapacitate the threat, you better make sure that your life is in complete danger. Because if you actually kill this person and you're trying to defend yourself and this person's intent was just to knock you out because of some stupid reason of you hitting on his girlfriend in a bar, you're going to get charged with murder. Okay? So, that being said, non-life threatening, you can pull this up, apply pain compliance at that point. Now granted, it's not saying you can't start hammer fisting his ribs to try to soften him up so he doesn't attack again, or stomping on his elbow or stomping on his hand. Those are well suited for self-defense scenarios. If you go to a life-threatening strike where stomping on the back of the head or back of the neck where you can possibly break their neck or kill them, you best have good reason for doing so. So I don't suggest doing that in a sense to where you get into a fight with somebody on the street and you stomp their head. We're talking real-world self-defense. That is real-world self-defense depending on the intent of the attacker. So you have to make sure that you are in clear and present danger of receiving imminent battery, great bodily harm, or even possibly death. And you're really never going to know that until the situation arises on how far you need to take that. So you have to make sure that you make the right choice when it comes down to that type of situation. Let's switch sides. So same side attack. So it's 1-2, moving in right away. Okay. Now this is, boom, boom. You're going right for the jaw at this point, cranking on his head. So your hand's gonna be right in his face. Raise up the forearm to the point where your forearm is right alongside his jaw. Here, I like to interlock my thumb in between my middle finger and my index finger because this secures a lot. Because here, if he gets underneath my grab, no, hand. Get your hand underneath. He can pull this away. If he was pulling down on this arm, he can pull away on this. Where if I have this locked up, this is more secure. So if he does pull, I can cinch this in because there's a stronger grab. And I can still apply somewhat of a technique to even bring him down to the ground. Even if I don't have that, I'm compressing on his head. He might still be pulling. He might try to flip me over. At that point, if he's focusing on this hand, he doesn't have this one. I let go. I soften him up with a groin strike. Then I can crank on his head this way, punch to his, his mandible, hammer fist, break his nose, whatever. You have a plethora of options. Okay, one more time. So from a little bit quicker standpoint of this, 1-2, moving in, boom, right away. Ground strike to the groin. Here, you can lock them up and over. You have this position, start hammer fisting the ribs, stomp that hand, take off running. Don't wait to see what he's gonna do next. You good? One last one. You're in this position, 1-2, boom, move right in. You have that locked up. Take him down to the ground. Compress, strike, oh, thank you. He locks this up. I lock that up, strike, whatever. Stomp that hand, off I go. So that's it. Defend against a jab cross combination, two-hand deflection, one arm, neck crank, jaw lock, takedown, strike, hit the road. Kick rocks. We'll see you on the next video.